listeners had a great weekend. Um, one of the things I was thinking about um, earlier today was failure, right? Um, and like how to deal with failure and how we all deal with failure in very different ways. Um, but you're gonna fail. End of video. Let's wrap it up. No, but I think as you get older, you want to fail less, right? You take the learnings from failure, you apply those learnings, and then you don't do those things again, or you change slightly the way you do things so you fail less. This happens, starting from grade school. If you fail a lot, you're learning a ton. You go into like middle school, you go into high school, you're failing less. Um, Now you may be failing less at learning, although your grades might reflect an F, which is graded failure, but that's a whole different thing. But you go through college, and there you have less, I would say, teachers that are catering to you, right? So like K through 12, usually they're catering to you and they're teaching you how to learn. So by the time you get to college, you already know how to learn. So you're presented with things that you then have to digest under whatever way you learn to take them in. And again, failure just continues and you figure out how to fail less. I think like for me personally, like I'm a relatively competitive person. Um, so I find uh, failing at something creates a challenge that I then want to win at, right? And I won't say I want to win at everything all the time, all things. But when I strive to do something, like I want to get at least good at it, understand it, um, and then figure out how to do more of that if I really enjoy doing it. I grew up skateboarding, right? When I was a kid, I would say like if you want to give your kids, um, force them to learn how to do something when they're young, skateboarding is it, right? Like it is nothing but failure. And for those that have skateboarded or grew up skateboarding, um, or even those I would say like that have rollerbladed and whatnot, like you fail so much um, just to learn how to ollie, right? Like just the basic trick, the core of all of skateboarding is an ollie. And to get to the point where you can actually do an ollie takes weeks, if not months. But once you learn how to do it, you then perfect it and then you move on to things like kick flips or varials or a whole bunch of other stuff, right? And so your world kind of expands with this new knowledge. You failed a lot to get to that point, but it's so satisfying once you would actually like learn a new trick. Learn the first trick, learn your second trick, learn your third trick, then you do them all in a row, right? And then you move on to more complicated things. I also um, play football. And so like little league football, you're just failing all the time. And you're having your coaches yell at you. And these were coaches like, in the 90s. And so they were, your kids and they're like yelling expletives at you at halftime. But you learn quickly, right? They're yelling at you. It's embarrassing. You feel it, but you want to not do that again. Otherwise, you're going to have to run laps. You're going to have to do push-ups, or everybody's going to have to do push-ups, right? And so, like, you kind of learn how to do things, right? But you do it by failing. Um, and I failed a lot at football, and then I got really good towards going into high school, and then I was also into competitive skiing. And if there was ever a sport where you can't blame anybody but yourself, one of them is alpine skiing or just skiing in general. Um, you get really tested on, mental endurance, because when you're like, a lot of the reason why, the why you tend to fail is because you get inside your own head, and then it compounds on things, right? And this happens in sports. It happens in the workplace, right? Like, you do something wrong at the workplace, and you either get caught up in it, right? Um, and those emotions and that feeling, um, or you figure out how to like leverage that feeling to strive to do better at the thing in what you're doing. And in my case, go back to skiing, you know, it's it wasn't necessarily failing, it was not placing, right? Not placing in the top three in races, and then slowly having to put in the work and the effort to move up the ranks and start to beat the people that I saw were faster than me, or that were faster than me, and starting to get closer, closer, closer. Then I'm beating them. They beat me. I'm beating them more. They're still beating me sometimes. And then, and then you go to Junior Olympics, and then you're faced with a whole other set of people and experiences and training, and like you get a sample of like, okay, if I want to beat these people, this is what I need to do, right? And I went to Junior Olympics and failed miserably, um, but I would say a majority of it was like the reason why I failed. I look back now, and it was most of it, like I would say 75 to 80% of it was just me getting in my own head about the experience and being there and seeing all these like very, very good skiers, um, that were putting down impressive lap times, that had sponsors and had exceptionally rich parents that, were sending them to academies. And again, I made it to that point where I'm competing against these people. None of that actually matters. I was in my own head. And so coming out of that, again, I was looking at it like, okay, well, like if I want to compete against them, first of all, I don't need to care about or get caught up in who they are or their circumstances in life and this, that, and the other. It's like, I need to focus on my training and bettering myself. Maybe, finding other people. Like now that I've moved kind of in my region, I've maximized the talent pool there. Maybe I need to surround myself with, people that are better than me that can up level my own skills, and development. But again, it's all about failure, learning how to deal with failure, leveraging that to then do better and do greater things. I think you know, as you get older, like, I think the one thing you find out, um, is your parents, are still failing, um, and they're not perfect people, and they don't have all the answers, but they have a lot of wisdom, right? It could be it's however much older that they are than you is the amount of wisdom that they tend to have, right? And that wisdom is good because it helps you kind of put things in perspective. Um, they have been on the earth longer than you have, obviously. They're able to provide perspective and insights into things that maybe like you just haven't been around long enough to see. Maybe you have. I don't know. Everybody is different. But ideally, the parent's job is to create a foundation which allows you to fail, right? Like, parents have to let their kids fail in order for kids to develop the skills to overcome failure. And so there's a lot of things that parents, provide to their kids, but I would say like that one is one of the most important, because when you remove your parents and you remove all the safety nets of the public school system in which is guiding you, and you're in college and you're getting guided in a way, then you enter the real world where nobody cares about any of your hangups. Generally speaking, most businesses, want you to come in and add value, to their organization. and they allow some bit of failure. But when you fail in the real world, um, you then have to, it's upon you to figure out how to overcome that failure. And hopefully, all the way through your upbringing, you've developed kind of this foundation of, tools and skills that allow you to overcome the failure in which you're inevitably going to run into. Don't get me wrong, I do know some people that fail almost never. Super annoying. Everything they do is right the first time. But interestingly enough, the reason why they don't tend to fail, or you don't see it as failure, is because they're systemically following a process to limit the amount of failure that they've built for themselves from failing in the past, right? You just don't see it in the future because their future self has built up their own toolbox, and they fail less. And so I guess the point I'm getting to, or getting at, is everybody fails. You're going to fail. I'm going to continue to fail. But it's how we actually take that failure, package it up in a way that then helps us move our lives forward. Um, you know, Again, nobody else is here. Nobody else is going to be there to help you most of the time. Um, so it's up to you to figure out, how to deal with failure. And again, failing is okay. We all do it. It's not a big deal, generally speaking. Um, you know, it is a lesson that helps you progress in life. But at any rate, um, I was just thinking about that, and as I'm making these videos and failing miserably at having good lighting and having great content and trying to limit my ums, ahs, and pauses. uh, you know as I make more content, I'll continue to try to develop the skill and the skills in the toolbox, so I can make content better for the people that do find whatever I'm saying interesting. I hope there's an audience out there. But regardless, if there's one thing to take away, it's you're gonna fail. um, Take it, grow from it. Don't be afraid to fail. Failing is a good thing. It's a learning experience. But with that said, like, share, subscribe, and keep believing the best is still ahead for America. Peace out.